There are sounds that cannot be heard, only felt, frequencies that don't vibrate through the air but through the soul. They move through silence, through light, through the spaces between your thoughts. This is the realm of the angels, where sound becomes presence and presence becomes revelation. Before creation spoke a word, there was resonance, a divine vibration, pure, luminous, alive, echoing through eternity, shaping everything that would ever exist. And within that sacred resonance, the first angels were born, beings made not of matter, but of frequency, the sound of love made visible. Every time you felt peace that had no explanation, every time you've been protected when you shouldn't have been, every moment your heart knew truth before your mind could catch it, that was the frequency of angels moving through you. They do not shout, they don't demand. They hum softly through the current of your spirit, reminding you of what heaven sounds like. When you are still enough, you begin to hear it, the sound of light. It doesn't enter through your ears. It awakens within your chest. It rises like warmth, expands like breath, and calls you gently back to your original harmony. Because you too were born from that same vibration. You were made in the frequency of divine love. And every time you choose peace instead of fear, compassion instead of control, forgiveness instead of fire, you tune yourself closer to the angels. The sound of light has never stopped singing. You've only forgotten how to listen. But the moment you remember, everything around you begins to shine again. Angels do not speak in words. Their language is made of light, movement, and vibration. Every ray of sun, every shift in the wind, every silence that suddenly feels alive, it's a message. Not in grammar, but in energy. A conversation between your soul and the unseen. You've heard it before, though you may not have known. It's that sudden peace that arrives without reason. The warmth that spreads through you when you pray and surrender. The thought that feels too kind, too wise, too loving to be your own. That is how angels speak. Without sound, without pressure, without fear. They communicate through resonance, not reaction. The language of angels is not learned. It's remembered. It's written deep within you, the same script that shaped creation. To understand it, you don't need to speak more. You need to be still more. You need to listen to what doesn't use words and trust what doesn't make sense to the mind but feels right to the soul. When you begin to align with that vibration, life itself becomes a message. Every sunrise feels like a blessing. Every challenge feels like an initiation. Even pain starts to sound different. Less like punishment, more like preparation. This is what the angels have always tried to remind you. Heaven is not far away. It's a frequency waiting to be tuned in. You are surrounded by messages of love, but love requires silence to be heard. And when you finally fall quiet enough, you realize you were never alone in your thoughts. They were praying with you the whole time. Not all light shines to be seen. Some shines to listen. It bends, it softens, it wraps around you when words fall short, and in that silence it hears what even you cannot say. That is where the angels dwell, in the light that listens. You may think heaven is far above, but it leans closer every time your heart whispers. When you pray through tears instead of sentences, when you choose kindness over revenge, when you breathe deeply instead of breaking apart, that's when the light begins to listen. Angels are not drawn to perfection, they are drawn to truth. To the trembling, honest sound of a soul still trying to believe. They gather in the quiet corners of surrender, around those who dare to hope again, around those who love even when it hurts. The light that listens doesn't judge your words. It translates your energy. It understands the difference between noise and sincerity. And every time your intention vibrates with love, it becomes a signal, rising upward like incense through the unseen. If you could see it, you'd realize that prayer doesn't end when you stop speaking. It continues through your heartbeat, through your breath, through every silent decision to keep moving forward. The light hears all of it, and answers, not always with miracles, but with presence. Because that's what angels bring most. Not solutions, but companionship. They don't always remove the pain, but they make sure you never walk through it alone. Every prayer ever spoken still exists somewhere. It doesn't vanish into silence. It takes flight. Each word born from love or longing becomes light, and that light is carried by wings you cannot see. The angels move through those currents, lifting your prayers higher than your fear could ever reach. Some prayers rise like fire, full of urgency and ache. Others move like wind, soft, slow, and constant. And some never leave your lips at all. They're carried by your tears. But no matter their form, every single one is gathered, held in hands of light, and carried toward the heart of God. You don't have to repeat them endlessly. Heaven doesn't forget. The moment a prayer is born, it's received. Angels don't measure its eloquence. They feel its vibration. And when it hums with sincerity, it becomes part of the divine frequency that never fades. Sometimes the answer arrives quickly, like rain after drought. Other times it lingers because the prayer's purpose was not the outcome, but the transformation it created in you. Angels know this, and so they wait beside you, wings folded in patience, until you're ready to see that the waiting was holy. The next time you pray, imagine it, not disappearing into the sky, but taking shape as light in motion, lifted by wings ancient as creation itself, because faith doesn't just rise, it flies. And every time you whisper to heaven, the angels carry your voice into eternity. Between heaven and earth there is breath, not the breath of lungs, but of spirit. It moves unseen, yet it stirs oceans, awakens hearts, and carries messages that never need translation. That breath is the bridge, the sacred rhythm where angels and souls meet in stillness. Every inhale is a reminder of the divine entering you. Every exhale is your offering back to the infinite. In that sacred exchange, the angels dwell, in the rise and fall of life itself, in the gentle hum between prayer and silence. They don't arrive from distant galaxies. They emerge from the spaces where faith still breathes. When you stop rushing and start breathing with awareness, you begin to hear that rhythm again, the pulse of heaven echoing through your chest. It's subtle, like wind over grass, yet powerful enough to realign your whole being. It tells you that you are not separate from the divine flow. You are part of it. Sometimes the breath feels heavy, like you're inhaling grief and exhaling surrender. Even then, the angels are near. They move through that same air, turning every sigh into song, every struggle into light rising slowly within you. So breathe, not just to survive, but to remember. You are breathing with eternity. You are synchronized with the unseen choir. Every breath you take is a conversation between earth and heaven, a silent prayer carried on the wings of wind. Heaven never stops speaking. It only changes its language. When your heart grows quiet, the world begins to sing, not with words, but with signs. Feathers on your path, numbers repeating in impossible patterns, a sudden warmth that wraps around you when you thought you were alone. That's not coincidence. That's communication. Angels rarely appear as visions of wings and light. Most of the time, they arrive disguised as alignment, a song that plays at the perfect moment, a stranger's kindness when you needed it most, a dream that lingers long after waking, whispering truth your mind can't deny. Each one a melody, each one part of a divine symphony that only the soul can hear. The signs are everywhere, but they don't demand attention. They wait to be recognized by hearts attuned to love. Because angels don't prove, they remind. They don't show up to impress you. They show up to awaken you, to lift your eyes, to steady your faith, to bring you back to remembrance. When you live tuned to that frequency, you start to hear the rhythm beneath everything, the heartbeat of God inside every sound, every encounter, every breath. Even silence becomes music. Even waiting becomes worship. The signs will keep singing until you remember the song. And when you finally hum along, when you begin to move with that same rhythm of light, you realize the truth that changes everything. You were never waiting for angels to appear. You were waiting to remember that they've always been here. There is a light that doesn't just shine upon you. It calls you. It doesn't demand. It invites. It pulls at the deepest part of your being, whispering that you were meant for something higher, something radiant, something eternal. This is the light of ascension, the pull of heaven itself. It doesn't tell you to escape the world, but to rise through it, to lift your heart without leaving your humanity, to walk the same ground, but with your gaze fixed on something beyond the visible. The angels live within that current. They don't live above you, they live around you, moving in waves of guidance and grace. Every time you forgive instead of retaliate, Every time you choose compassion over control, you rise a little closer to their realm. The light that calls you higher is not distant. It's woven into your every decision. It's the spark behind your conscience, the peace that refuses to die even in chaos, the yearning for goodness that no disappointment can silence. That is the voice of heaven within you, the divine frequency tuning your soul to its original harmony. To follow that light is to live awake. It's to walk through the ordinary and see it shimmer with meaning. It's to realize that the path upward has never been in the sky. It has always been inward. When you answer that call, you don't become perfect. You become illuminated. And every step you take becomes an echo of heaven's sound, a reminder that angels don't only live where light begins, they live wherever someone chooses to rise. The greatest sound in heaven is not thunder or music, it's stillness. Because within stillness, everything sings in perfect harmony. The angels know this truth well. They move not with noise, but with presence, a vibration so pure that silence itself begins to glow. When your mind stops racing and your spirit becomes quiet, you start to feel what cannot be taught, that peace is not the absence of motion, but the perfection of alignment. It is when your heart beats in rhythm with heaven, when your thoughts soften into surrender, that the divine choir begins. You can't hear it with your ears. You feel it, like warmth expanding from the inside out. It's a melody woven into existence itself, where every breath becomes part of the sacred song. The wind hums the bass line, your soul provides the harmony, and the angels sing the light between both. That's why silence is holy. It's where heaven rehearses. Every pause between your words is a resting note in the divine symphony. And every moment you choose peace over reaction, you join the choir of stillness. In that choir, there are no solos, no pride, no fear, no distance, only unity, only vibration, only the infinite sound of love, resonating through every being, forever returning to its source. The most powerful light doesn't descend from above, it rises from within. The angels do not give it to you, they help you remember it. It was placed there long before your first breath, a fragment of the same fire that ignited the stars. It waits quietly, hidden beneath layers of fear, doubt, and memory, until one day, you pause long enough to feel it again. That's when awakening begins. Not through effort, but through remembrance. You realize you were never meant to chase the light, you were meant to uncover it. And every act of love, every forgiveness, every silent moment of trust polishes that inner flame until it shines bright enough to guide others home. The angels recognize you by that light, not by your name. They see it pulse in colors unseen by human eyes, and every time you choose compassion, it flares brighter in their sight, a signal that another soul has remembered heaven. The radiance within doesn't compete with darkness. It simply reveals that the darkness was never real, only the absence of seeing. And once you see, truly see, the whole world begins to glow from the inside out. That's why enlightenment isn't a journey upward, it's a return inward. It's not about becoming divine, it's about realizing you always were. And as that truth dawns, the angels draw nearer, not because they finally found you, but because you finally remembered where they've always been. There is no distance between you and heaven, only vibration. And every act of love, every moment of faith, every breath of gratitude brings your soul closer to that sacred frequency. It is the music that never stops, the hum beneath creation, the eternal harmony between the seen and the unseen. You don't have to climb to reach heaven, you have to tune in. Heaven has always been singing. Its sound moves through oceans, through stars, through your very heartbeat. The angels are part of that symphony, invisible notes within an infinite song. And when your spirit finally resonates with love, you begin to hear it clearly, not as something outside you, but as the sound of your own soul remembering home. That is the frequency of angels, the vibration of peace beyond words, the glow that fills every silence with purpose, the calm that follows surrender, the light that remains when all else fades. It's not about believing in angels, it's about becoming one, in kindness, in patience, in the quiet way you carry light into the world. Every prayer you've ever whispered has added a note to that eternal melody. Every tear, every act of forgiveness, every unseen moment of love, they are all music, They are all part of the great divine chorus that connects heaven and earth. So listen, the sound has never stopped. It moves through you even now, soft, pure, eternal. And when you let it flow freely, you no longer seek the divine. You become the divine frequency that was calling you all along.